Welcome to The Explainer. You know the feeling, right? You walk into a meeting with a clear goal, and an hour later, you walk out, and it's just total chaos. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to look at two really simple but powerful frameworks that can bring order to even the most out-of-control discussions. Now, this line comes from a handbook for trade union officials, but it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It captures a problem we've all seen. When you get a bunch of passionate, smart people in a room, you can't just expect them to magically agree on everything. So, what do you do when all that passion just turns into a big, unproductive mess? Well, using a real-world case study, we are going to unpack two super effective tools that can bring clarity and order back to the table. All right, let's set the scene. The ABC trade union is having a big meeting. Their goal? Decide on the top priorities for a huge upcoming contract negotiation. So yeah, the stakes are pretty high, and you can bet everyone's got an opinion. And just like that, the discussion starts to spiral. You got people talking over each other, ideas flying from every corner of the room, and any hope of consensus is just gone. The meeting is literally on the verge of collapsing into a bunch of pointless arguments. And here's the thing. This is the real problem. Every single one of these points is totally valid. I mean, who's going to argue against better pay or safer working conditions? They're all important. But without some kind of structure, the group is on a fast track to achieving absolutely nothing. Okay, so right when it feels like all is lost, the chairperson, Maria, steps in. She has this key insight. They don't need more debate. What they need is a better process. They need to get back on track. So she introduces a framework called the Moscow method. Now, I know it sounds like a city, but it's actually a super clever way to cut through all the noise and figure out what really matters. So how does it work? Let's break down that acronym. First up, M stands for must-have. These are your absolute non-negotiables. Think of them like the foundation of a house. If you don't have these, the whole thing is just going to fall apart. The project fails, period. Next, we have should-haves. Now, these are really important. They add a ton of value, but they're not the absolute deal breakers. If the must-haves are the foundation, the should-haves are like the walls and the roof. You could technically survive without one, but it wouldn't be much of a house. Then you've got C for could-have. These are your nice-to-haves. They're the bonus features. In our house analogy, this is the fancy landscaping or the pool out back. It'd be great to have for sure, but it's only happening if there's time and money left over. And finally, W for won't have. Now this might be the most powerful one of all. This is where you explicitly agree on what you are not doing right now. It isn't about killing good ideas forever. It's about creating focus and making sure everyone's on the same page about what's off the table for this particular project. So, armed with this new tool, Maria does something brilliant. She splits everyone into smaller groups and tells them, stop arguing, start categorizing. She has them use the Moscow structure to sort through all their demands. And look at the result. It's like night and day. Suddenly, all that chaos is gone, and in its place, you have this beautiful clarity. The group agrees. A wage increase and safety measures are their must-haves. Everything else finds its logical place, and they all agree that a 4-day workweek is a won't-have for now, which frees them up to focus on what they can actually achieve. The real magic of Moscow is that it forces everyone to be clear. It acts like a filter, taking this huge, messy tangle of opinions and turning it into a focused, collaborative plan that everyone can get behind. But, it's not a silver bullet. The biggest weakness is that it can be subjective. I mean, what one person sees as a must-have, someone else might see as just a should-have. And that's why you have to talk it out. Clear communication is absolutely essential to making this work. So this is great, right? The union now has this crystal clear, prioritized list of exactly what it wants to do. But that immediately brings up the next big question, doesn't it? Knowing what to do is only half the battle. If nobody knows who is supposed to do it, you're still not going anywhere. And this is where our second tool comes into play, and it's the perfect follow-up. To solve this whole problem of ownership and responsibility, we're going to bring in another framework. It's called the RACI matrix, and it builds perfectly on what we just did. Let's break this one down too. First, R stands for responsible. Pretty simple, these are the doers. They're the people with their sleeves rolled up, actually doing the work. You can have a few people who are responsible for one task. Then you have A for accountable. Now this is critical. This is the owner, the one person who is ultimately on the hook for getting the task done right. The buck stops with them. And, this is key, There can only be one A per task. Just one. C is for consulted. Think of these folks as your subject matter experts or advisors. You need to have a conversation with them. You need their input before you can move forward. It's a two-way street. You're not just telling them things, you're asking. And finally, I is for informed. These are the people who just need to be kept in the loop. You send them an email, a memo, an update. It's a one-way communication. It's just an FYI to let them know what's going on. And this is where it all just clicks into place. Let's look at an example for a newspaper ad campaign. Take the task budget approval. The treasurer is accountable. They are the single owner. The chair and secretary need to be consulted, and the equalities officer, they're just kept informed. Just like that, poof, all the confusion about who does what is completely gone. Okay, so let's bring these two amazing tools together. Think of this as your new toolkit for running meetings and projects that actually work. When you boil it all down, it's actually this simple. Moscow helps you figure out the what. What are we actually doing and what's most important? And RACI clarifies the who. Who is responsible for each part? When you use them together, they're like a superhero duo against chaos and confusion. So here's what I want to leave you with. Think about your own work life, that team project you're on, or hey, even planning a family vacation. Where could defining the what's and the who with this kind of simple clarity change everything? Because as we've just seen, sometimes a little bit of structure can go a very, very long way.